Hey everyone, welcome to the VO Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Ann Ganguzza, and today I am thrilled to welcome someone who truly defines what it means to be a powerhouse in the voiceover industry. With more than 30 years at CESD New York, Billy Collura has been at the forefront of commercials and beyond, representing talent with a direct and grounded approach that has earned him the trust of clients and voice actors alike. I think it's fair to say that he doesn't just follow the changes in the business. He really helps to shape them. So, Billy, I am so excited to have you here on the podcast.
Thank you for asking me. Yeah,
Yay.
This is so nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And of course, we're like on opposite coasts here. So you're on my home coast. And so
Yes.
I do miss New York quite a bit. And we
How
did
often
have a
do you
little...
get out here?
Yeah,
Do you
pardon
get out
me?
here often? Do you ever get out
You know
here?
what? Not as often as I should. I really have now started to say I'm only coming out during the warm season because I'm done with the snow.
Yeah, I hear you.
But I would imagine, like, do you travel, like, elsewhere in the wintertime in New York? Because I know it's
No,
kind
I
of tough
stay
sometimes.
here. I travel,
Yeah.
a lot in general during the course of the year, but I right now I'm upstate in I'm up in the Hudson Valley and
Yes.
in the city of Hudson,
I
which is 2
gotcha.
hours north of Manhattan. So I go back and forth. In the wintertime, no, I'm usually in the Northeast. Sometimes,
Okay. Are you a
so
skier? Are you a
no,
skier?
absolutely
Okay.
not.
Well,
Absolutely not.
That was what kept a lot of people on the East Coast in my area, anyways. They're like, oh no, I have to be able to ski in the winter.
No, I
I'm
don't
like,
like
well,
the cold.
I have a mountain here in California.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh. Well, anyways, it's so nice to see you again. It's been a while. I saw you at VO Atlanta, and I'm just really thrilled that I have the opportunity to talk to you. I know how busy you are, and but I'm just so excited that the bosses are going to get this opportunity to really benefit from your wisdom, and so. Benefiting from the wisdom, speaking of that, you've been at CESD for over 3 decades.
Yep.
That's amazing. So how would you say that your role as an agent has evolved during that time?
Well, like it started when I started. It'll be 32 years in May.
Oh my
When I
gosh.
started, voiceover was a smaller industry, and I dabbled in a little bit of everything. Okay, I did commercials. There really wasn't. There was no internet back then, so we did radio and TV commercials and industrials, and I'm not even sure cable was around when I started.
I hear you.
We didn't have computers, any of that. So we did a little bit of everything. And then, and promos. Promos were a thing, and narration and trailers. And we did a little bit of all of that. And then as the industry kept getting bigger and bigger, we started specializing. And all of a sudden, there was a promo narration trailer agent. And so, so that department happened. And then, and now over the course of the years, fast forward to, like, I dabbled in animation, I dabbled in gaming, but I also, but pretty much my focus was commercials. Because that's where the money is, and that was the day where it was just, it was just TV and radio, and and the actors made a lot of money.
Yeah.
It was only union. We only worked on union jobs, and now fast forward to, now where 60 to 70% of my desk is non-union. We started doing non-union in 2019.
Okay.
The union opportunities have pretty much dried up, but and that I say that, but it's ebb and flow. I mean,
Sure.
now this year. It was a slow summer for some reason. It was like the old days. It was really slow, and I mean that union and non-union. And then I go away on vacation the last 2 weeks of August, and it just like exploded while I was away. And since then I've been playing catch up, and it's been so busy with union, lots of union stuff with non-union. Yeah, so it's
always
been
good to
great
hear.
there. Yeah, so I mean that's changed, and I guess for me, what's changed for me is because now I specialize much more on commercials. I do have a few non-union accounts, but I have my large union steady accounts. So most of my work is in the commercial world. I also happen to handle the audiobooks, but I always say I'm not an audiobook agent. I'm the agent at CESD that handles the audiobooks. So it's a little different. But the audiobook, what I do love about it, an agent who left, because she got married and had babies, and she said, take the audiobooks. They're the nicest people in the world. And I got to say, they really are. And so I've kept it. I love it. The people are so nice. I really, really enjoy it. So I've been doing that. I also do ADR and loop group stuff. Again, very specialized. And there really aren't a lot of industrials. Now, I know some of the other, I'm one of 6 agents in the department. And then there's another 2 agents that work with agencies that cater to medical industrials. So they're doing, I don't do a lot of industrials. I think a lot of the industrials have gone to the pay-to-play sites. But the union stuff, the medical ones, they are still at the big agencies. I just personally don't happen to have those.
I would say maybe the commercial aspect of, right, healthcare, like pharmaceuticals and that sort of thing is huge.
And more of those blue chip companies are going non-union, and it's and those rates are
Sure. What do you attribute that? Why is that happening? What do you attribute that to?
Because what I attribute it to is when it started, when digital work started happening, and these great companies, the Droga Fives, and there was so many. That's just the first one. They were doing great work with the digital work. They were just with stuff before even streaming, when they were making commercials for digital work, and they were doing fine work. They were doing really good work. And these companies, these blue chip companies, were saying, hey, you did that for this much money. Why don't you just take all of our network stuff? And that's how I remember, like 10, 12 years ago, a large fast food chain started going, went totally non-union. Then there would be some that, because they had a celebrity voice on certain spots, those, and then they would get a third party. And more, I feel like these agencies, these digital agencies, just kept getting better and better at it. And the actors were getting better and better at it. And it's not like the cable stations that you see up here that, these infomercial things that, that you can tell it's non-union, I've fallen and I can't get up kind of stuff. They're doing great work. I can't tell.
Are they doing great work because they have great actors, or are they doing great work because, all the entire production value of it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. People are getting better at it. The voiceover people, certainly. And it's not even, the voiceover, so many people, COVID just changed the game, and everybody, voiceover was the one business in town that didn't shut down during COVID. And I always say every jaboni with a mic, just set up a studio at home and said, I'm going to do voiceover. And not only, they were well-established Broadway and TV and film, everybody was doing it.
And that's so interesting, because I would say the majority of people that, because I was super busy coaching during COVID, and I just had so many people that just wanted to make the demos and get into the industry. But I had a lot more of the talent that were more beginner, right, to intermediate. But I would imagine that with COVID, with celebrities, right, them wanting to get into voiceover, because what else was there? Because they weren't able to go into a studio. And so I would say that a good portion of people that were getting those jobs were probably the celebrities, right, that weren't able to go into studios. Yeah.
And so these new people that you were coaching, they just kept getting better and better at it. And and we're willing to work for low wages. That's the other thing. And, we always say somebody takes a job for $100, it's just a race to the bottom. If you're going to, because, we don't work on the non-union stuff. We don't work on certain things. I won't work on stuff just because it's not worth my time.
Sure.
I mean, and I don't mean to be like, but, $250 is a lot to some people,
Oh,
but
yeah,
for all
yeah,
the
yeah.
work that I have to go into it, for me to do it and have my assistant do it and doing the editing
Sure.
to maybe get it, it's just
Yeah.
not worth. But I do. I mean, that's usually my
Yeah. No.
threshold is 250.
Well, and I understand that because I always tell people, because I do a lot of non-broadcast narration, coaching and demos, and I'm always telling people, they're like, well, I want an agent. I'm like, well, an agent doesn't get excited about non-broadcast stuff because it's a one and done thing. You don't make your money on that. And
Yeah.
so typically, you want to have a tip-top, commercial demo because that's where they're going to be making their money with the residuals and that sort of a thing. So do you think it has to do with the sheer volume of people that got into voiceover as well? If you've got enough, if you throw spaghetti against a wall, right, some of them will stick. And so then it started to drive down, I'm going to say it started to drive down maybe the prices or people willing to do the work for less because it just got to be competitive.
It did. There's so many people doing it now. So many people.
Yeah.
And especially in the non-union world, there's so many opportunities out there. And, with the pay-to-plays. And I've kind of changed my tune a little on the pay-to-plays. And I kind of see they're there for a reason.
Yeah.
They're a great, tool for learning, for getting the experience, for the auditioning. And I learned recently when I was at a conference in Holland and met the CEO from Voices 123, and I learned that they love to put people together and to put the actor and the company together, take it off the platform and do your thing. They don't want to micromanage like there are other pay-to-plays that micromanage everything. But I really found that, that's really nice. And then people can make money that way. They're not interested. They're just interested in making the match. So, but that being said, there are so many people that are doing this now and driving down the prices because this may not be their full-time gig. It just may be a side hustle for them. So, sure, an extra $200, an extra $100, an extra $350, that can accumulate. So, but unfortunately, then they're like, oh, you did it last time for $100. Why can't, so
Sure.
It's hard. It's hard.
It is. And I think, but would you say that the amount of jobs is diminishing or no? It's just as volume,
I don't
much
see
volume is normal.
I'm busy, but I don't know. Like I said, this summer it was slow with the opportunities with the auditions. I find that my casting directors, my union casting director, just my casting directors in general, I have some that are busier than others. Some I will hear from, once every other month, and then some I will hear from 3 or 4 times a week. So it's all. There's no logic to it. And then on the
Isn't that the truth?
It's and then
After all these
VO.
years, wouldn't you think you
God.
could predict,
No. I always say to the actors, I'm not booking. It's just one phone call. It's one job.
Yeah.
And don't forget, they're only picking one person.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
they're only picking one person.
That's that's a way to put it in perspective, actually.
Yeah,
if you think about it.
But in 400, how many people are auditioning?
Sure.
That's why with Select VO, that only allows you X amount of people to submit. So if the agency says, if they invite you and they say you can only submit 3 people per role, they won't let you submit a 4th person. So you really have to be smart. And we're not the type of agency that'll send, to 10 people.
Sure.
And then Sophie's choice, the 3 that I want, I don't believe in that. I feel it's a waste of time of the actor. It's certainly a waste of time for my assistant and for me to have to listen to.
Then you have to listen to them. Exactly.
What's the point,
And so that translates to me to a good relationship with everybody that's on your roster.
Absolutely.
And you having that knowledge of their capabilities, and you can communicate back and forth to make sure that the two of you are keeping up with one another. And you would be the one that say, okay, I'm going to handpick this audition and send this to this many people, because you're the one that has to do the work, right? To send it the top 3 to the client. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's my reputation, and there
Sure.
are some casting directors that I will submit a list, and they will pick who they want to hear. Back up if I lose, or if we lose somebody, who else would you like? Or sometimes they'll say, these are the three I want to hear. Send me one of your choice. That maybe somebody I don't know. And then there are certain casting directors that will micromanage, and they have to. They will only see these people, and they're
Sure.
not flexible. But it just kind of makes me a better agent. That's why CESD is an exclusive agency. We don't oversign in the union or
Right.
non-union world. We're still building up our non-union roster. We still doing that, but that's where we have the most amount of opportunities. In the non-union world.
Sure.
Plain and simple.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what would you say after all these years? What's kept you loving your job?
Because it's different every day. That's the thing. I never know what's ahead of me. So I just love every day. There's a new challenge. There's something new. Recently, I have a new assistant who I adore, and I love teaching him. He's a little sponge, and he wants to learn, and so that kind of inspires me to want
nice.
to teach him, and to, so that is, I guess that's the difference, and also being able to, because the business has changed remotely. I can start earlier. I'm not in the office. I can work later. It just kind of like the whole. It's such, I don't want to say a relaxed, but I feel more relaxed. Now, it could be because I've been doing this for 100 years,
Sure.
but I just feel relaxed. I enjoy what I do. I don't feel the pressure. I don't feel like there's no such thing as a voiceover emergency. If somebody screws up, or, if I've given out, there's no
Bravo
such thing.
to that. I always say there's never a VO emergency.
No, there's never a first. If something went wrong, all right, don't freak out. How do we fix it? How do we fix it? That's all,
Now, that's from your perspective. What about your client, your casting director, your client's perspective? Are there VO emergencies?
Yeah, there could be. That's on them, not on me.
Yeah, okay. I love that.
I don't,
Yeah.
I want to help fix the problem,
Sure.
So, and I mean, it's always something. Fortunately, I haven't had any of those emergencies in a while. But, the other night, it was 9:00. My time, and it was an LA agency booking a client. She happened to be on the West Coast, so it worked out okay. But it was 9:30, and I was like, I'm old. I can't stay up. And then I thought, and I got a text from the casting director. She goes, "We want to book so-and-so." I left all the information on the email. So I was like, oh, well, I have to finish Gilded Age, this episode. And then as soon as I'm done, I will get on my computer.
I love it.
And so...
That's
but
great.
I guess, so that's what keeps me going, the relationship with my clients. I don't, it's different because back in the day, actors used to come into the office to audition.
Yeah.
West Coast was different because you guys were MP3ing long before, because y'all wouldn't get in a car and drive a half hour to the studio.
I hear
but in New York,
well, because of the traffic.
Yeah, and that's why you couldn't get to 3 auditions back in the day, but it was our job in New York to get you from the Upper West Side down to Wall Street over to Midtown. Yeah.
I know so many voice actors who still go into studios to audition in New York. I mean, I almost don't hear about it anymore,
audition.
except for, excuse me, to go into the,
for booking. No, for bookings, they encourage that now.
But I have heard people in the last couple of years, I mean, it's not every day, but sometimes they are going in. I don't know if it's to audition or if it's to actually do the job.
No, it's usually, there's one or two, the studios, the couple of the studios that do auditioning, because that's what that's what changed. Like all the advertising agencies, in-house casting directors, and those casting directors ended up going to the studios in New York, and they have in-house casting directors. So they will encourage the Sonic Unions, the headrooms, the sound lounges. They will encourage, hey, if the client is local to New York, boom, have them come in.
Oh,
the
that makes
session.
sense.
And it kind of opened up because not everybody got Source Connect. Especially our older clients, it wasn't cost effective for them for that one audition every other month. It wasn't. So the foreign language people, they weren't getting it because there weren't enough opportunities. But especially, I want to say the older clients, they really weren't getting. So this kind of opened up. If you lived in New York, you could still
Nice,
send
yeah,
an MP3, and you're able to go to Sound Lounge for the booking. That was always that's always a nice caveat.
So, I'm sure people ask you this all the time. Commercial voiceover has changed, evolved over the years. Advertisers have changed how they buy, and consumers have changed, I think, how they listen. What would you say is what sort of things have changed in terms of trends for commercial VO? What are you looking for now that maybe is different than what was relevant maybe 5 or 10 years ago? Because
Yeah.
I know probably you're going to say like 30 years ago it was more of that announcer sort of style. It was promo, but maybe 5, 10 years ago, what has changed?
It was when I first started, it was the time when, Demi Moore started with Kids, and there was that raspy, damaged sound that has kind of, was such a thing for so long. And I know our women, back then, were the most successful.
I coveted that, which is not a part of my genetic makeup at all. I'm
But
like, I can't get a rasp.
No, if you don't, you can't put I woke up with a sore
cold.
throat today.
Yeah.
I sound great. I should
I know.
audition. No, you shouldn't.
Exactly.
So that was, that was always the thing. And yeah, it was the rough and tough announcers and all those guys. And then that kind of went away, and it was the John Corbett kind of sound. And he was, he stuck around for a long time as a prototype. And now it's Paul Rudd and Rashida Jones. And then, so those trends kind of changed. But then about 10 years ago, everything, really it was people of color, they wanted voices for actors. And that really opened up a wider net. There was no general market anymore, because they used to say, they were very specific. We want a Caucasian voice. But now you only see that if you're doing a demo for the on-camera, and the on-camera actor happens to be a certain color. But they want authenticity. I remember, getting, and now everybody, especially in the union world, they all want to check boxes, So it's all ethnicities. We want non-binary people. And I'm like, what does a non-binary person sound like? I don't. It took me, but then I realized, they don't really, they're just checking off boxes. But for the, for the African American community, they were in vogue. They were, I would get breakdowns, all ethnicities, and the prototypes would be Viola Davis, Tiffany Haddish, and Angela Bassett. Do the math, So that was a thing. And I think, I still think that is happening, but I'm finding a trend like that is kind of changing, where general market is truly general market now. They want, it's everybody. It's everything.
That's great.
Yes,
I love to hear that.
That's the way it should have been, but unfortunately it was so the other way for so long, and then it shifted, and now it's kind of evening out.
Sure.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's what I was thinking would happen at some point, right? It would even out. And it's kind of nice to hear that's happening. I mean, I wouldn't want it to go another extreme. At all, and especially because, it's the world's a little chaotic right now. And I know that it's affecting companies and their advertising. And so that to me says, gosh, I hope that there's still as much opportunity for everybody as there ever was. And so that's just one of those things where I think if there was, a slow part of the season, maybe it's people, I think there's companies trying to gauge like what's happening and what's going to work for them in terms of advertising. Yeah. And it's not so much the voice, but the whole thing.
The whole,
all of it. On camera, all of it. How are they going to advertise it to be effective? And
I think, that, and this is just me, I feel like voice-wise, I feel that the union world is more, tries to check the boxes much more than the non-union world. I truly believe the non-union world, they're going to pick the best voice for the job, no matter what ethnicity you are. That I find, and I just, because of the actors that I speak with, not only because I speak with my non-union actors in general so much more, just simply because there's so much opportunity there. But I notice with my union actors, I just don't, I don't really have that many opportunities for them. But it is, I speak to certain ones a lot more than the others, but I don't find that. I find it much broader in the non-union world. I mean, it's a different, and I've learned so much about the non-union community, and how different it is. I feel it is much more, I don't know how to say it. It's much more of a community, I feel. I feel that they really are supportive of each other. They help each other. It's not as competitive or as petty competitive as it can sometimes be. In the union world. It's just I think it's fabulous that everybody's out to help each other much more in that community. Which I think
that's
is great.
refreshing to hear.
Yeah.
I like that from you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So then for you, for talent on your roster, what sort of qualities are you looking for in any talent that might appear on your roster?
You know what's funny? When I first started, when COVID happened, first thing I did a lot of these classes, first thing I was like, obviously the first thing was, do you have Source Connect? If you had Source Connect, because so few people did, you went right to the top of my list.
Yeah,
and then,
if you had Source Connect.
And then it's just about reading the copy. And that's the same basic thing, is how do you read copy? Some of my most successful people, my white actors over 40, I have a couple of them, and they just read copy so well. I don't know what it is. They're just great. They were, you can't teach it. It's, it's just natural. This one particular guy, does he have that Paul Rudd feel to him? Just that guy next door, just that real comfortable, relaxed, nothing pushed. That's how he is in life, and that's how it comes across.
Right.
There was something else. I did this one class, and there was this woman, like late 20s, white woman, and there was just something. I was on a panel. I was one of 3 people, and oh my God, there was just something about her read that made me crazy. And like the next day, I was like, I want to set you up. I love you, the best of the blah 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 blah. And now here we are. Fast forward to probably a little more than a year. She is one of my most successful actresses on my roster. And what is it about her? I don't know. She's just fabulous. She just reads. It's honest. So I'm always looking for that honest.
I like
read,
that honest. Pushed, authentic. And I like how, we've heard for so long, right? Bring you to the party. Bring you to the party. It's that, I think that's so important. And we throw it around like, oh yeah, okay, I can bring me, and yet so many people still try to perform.
Absolutely.
And if they really can just stop in their own head and just bring themselves to the party, because you and I talk, there's something about I really like Billy, and it's like an intangible thing, and it's your personality, right? It's how we connect, and I think we
connected right away the first time we met. We were just
exactly. Exactly.
I remember.
And I think that's the same thing for voice actors. If you can, if you've got a great personality and you're like one of those people that you can connect with right away, I mean, that's what I think we're looking for, that authenticity. It's, you're not trying to, push anything, and this is who you are. And I love to hear that, because I keep telling people, gosh, you are enough. I mean, it really is. Please don't try to be anything other than yourself, because I really like you.
Yes. And so many voice actors, they forget that, this is acting. And I said, you got to get out of your head into your gut. Whether you're selling peas for 99 cents, it doesn't matter. You have to be honest and authentic with it. So so important.
Now I have to ask the question, because probably everybody does. And what do you think about the threat of AI in the industry, and especially now that there's it's not even just voice, it's on camera too.
Yeah. So, I mean, we keep our eye on it. We read every
Yeah.
contract. We read every breakdown. You know, SAG is doing their best.
Yeah,
Bless
yeah.
their hearts. You know,
Yeah.
NAVA
Yep.
is, you know, above and beyond what they're doing with
Yeah.
the rules and the legislation and what they're doing. You know, it's coming. It's not going away, and it's not. It's going to get better and better. So we just try to keep our eyes and ears on everything and try
Sure.
to follow the rules and say nope. I'm working on a very large deal right now, and there was a huge component with they wanted an AI replica, and fortunately the person doing it was like, no, I've heard replicas of my voice, and and they never sound as good as
Yeah.
the real thing.
And
So
that's a
it's-
really interesting point, because I know for a fact that that's true, because back in the day, well, back a few years ago, I started really delving deep into that and researching companies and how they made voices. And I've heard a lot of voices. And there are some people who are amazing actors, but yet their voice doesn't translate well. Either it's the AI technology that has not it just is not doing the right thing for them. And it doesn't translate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he said, "No, I will not. It's my voice. It's
Yep.
my reputation,
Yep.
and I will be available whenever they need me." They were like, "Well,
Sure.
what in case what if he's away on vacation?"
Yeah.
He said, I
There
will
are
be
no
available."
VO emergencies.
No, there are no VO emergencies.
Right?
Exactly.
There's no VO emergencies.
Yes.
Oh
So
my
yeah. So
goodness.
I mean, are we concerned about it? Yeah. Am I concerned? Absolutely. But you know, I can't lose sleep over it.
Sure.
It's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming, and so we just have to manage it and make it work to our advantage.
Yes, I agree. I love that. So I'm very excited because you're going to be doing a class for us, a VO Boss workshop in November. As a matter of fact, it's going to be November 12th. Can you tell us a little bit about what we're going to be doing in that class?
Well, what I usually do is I like to just kind of give my spiel about what I've been doing and I guess the do's and don'ts of the proper way to get in touch with an agent, what to expect, what you're not to expect from, once you're submitting to an agent. I try to just say the things, kind of give the tips that actors need to know, what's proper, what's not, what's going to get you, what's going to get you seen, what's going to get you heard, what makes it easy for me, the agent. And I've come to also realize that it works differently from agency to agency. So I can only speak to what works for me at CESD. But I'll talk about that, and I'll just talk about my feelings on what it takes, what tools you're going to need, and I mean like literal tools. So what kind of demos you're going to need, that sort of stuff.
Sure.
Do a little Q&A, and then read some copy.
Yay.
And
Love
anybody
that.
that does come to the class, it's got to be commercial copy because that's what I do.
Sure.
I'm not going to be able to judge you on your animation copy or that kind of stuff. That's not really what I do. So we'll do that, and we'll tear it apart and hopefully get to 2 pieces within the class, and
Yeah. I
work
love that.
way. We'll see.
Yay. Well, I'm very excited for that. And bosses, I'll be putting a link so that you can sign up for it, because I'm quite sure it's going to go quickly. Now, my last question is, because you said you're in upstate New York, and I have my own my own nostalgia memories of upstate New York. And so for me, I'd be riding a horse, in the countryside. So if you weren't an agent, Billy, what would you be doing right now?
God.
Would you have a different career? Would you be retired and, riding horses or?
Yeah. Well, I've only had 3 different jobs in my life. Okay. Other than high school jobs, I was an actor, / waiter, and then I became an agent. I've been. So I moved to New York to be an actor, and that didn't happen. But I always I was I had a friend who was a commercial casting director, and so I used to go in and help him out at the casting calls. That was back in the days of Polaroids and signing up, and I really was fascinated by it. And he would, and he kept saying, "There's an opening at this agency. Do you want to go?" And I would go and audition, to be an assistant.
Sure.
And then boom, 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 and then it just so happens, he said, CED, because we weren't CESD at that point, it was looking to expand the voiceover department, and was I interested? And my partner at the time said, go and audition, apply for the job, because one of these days you will make more money than me.
Oh,
and
there you go.
And now every year
And
I
now you
get
make
my
more money
raise.
than he.
I'm still in touch with him, and I call him and I say, thank you, Greggy, for allowing me to have
Here's
this
my
job.
annual income report.
Yes. So anyway, so I've thought about this. What do I do?
Yeah. What would you do
I'm too
if you
old to be a waiter. I'm not going to go back though. I think I would be really good at it.
I agree,
Have
actually. You've got the social.
I think I could do. Yeah. So do I go? But when I retire, whenever that is, I want to travel. I just love to travel. That's my thing. So, I feel like when this is behind me, that I will, I'll just travel. I'm not going to be on a horse up here. Though I always had, sometimes I've had, I don't know if I even want another, job. And I'm at that point now where, I'm old and I don't want another career. It's not like I'm going to be an artist or I once thought, well, maybe I'll just go do community theater somewhere. I have a friend, interestingly enough, a little older than I am, lives in Chicago, and he started taking an acting class just for the hell of it.
For the hell of it.
And he said, the others, and they love it because they have somebody to play the old man in all those scenes. And I thought, oh my God, that's great.
I could do that.
Yeah. So
I love that.
I thought, why not community theater? If that was it. Now, there's no community theater in New York City, so if that's where I retire, But if I was to retire up here, that would interest me, and because I am a lover of theater, so I do.
Yeah.
Really,
I feel like you kept yourself in the acting world. By being an agent. I mean, and that, it's still, you're very much immersed in it. And so I feel like if that was your one love, and you came to New York. By the way, where did you come from?
I grew up in Waltham, Massachusetts.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, just a little outside of Boston.
Yep, very familiar with it.
I went, I grew up in Waltham, and then I went to UMass Amherst, and then to New York. That was my...
Fantastic.
Yeah. So,
there you go. Well, my gosh, it has been such a pleasure chatting with you today. I mean, I could go on. I feel like we could go on, but at some point I do have to. I do have to quit at some point. But thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. It's been really a joy talking with you. I'm so excited for November, guys. Bosses, remember, November 12th, get yourself to voboss.com and sign up to work with this gentleman. He's amazing. And I'm going to give a great big shout out to our sponsor, IPDTL. You too can connect and network like bosses like Billy and myself, and find out more at IPDTL.com. Guys, have an amazing week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.